Hello and welcome back to the channel. Well, we've got three figures today that we're looking at, and we've got Mr. Freeze, Otto Freeze at the front, Joker on the right at the back, and Scarecrow on the left. Now, I was over at my friend's house the other day, check out Ray Ray's collection and subscribed, and I saw all these villains in the Arkham Asylum game. And if I come to Mr. Freeze first, I was not aware that this one was in the game, but he kind of looked very much like this, and I've had him for a couple of years, and he's my Mr. Freeze because I think he fits the profile that is in my head. So I'll just come in close. All these releases are by Todd McFarlane from the DC world. So we're going to get them posed out and show you what they can do. And I'll come over onto the left side. I'm coming close on Scarecrow there. I had no real knowledge of this figure. I just saw that in my toy outlet, and I thought to myself, this is the version of the Scarecrow that I would like to have in my collection. I saw him in a black wash. This is the brown wash, and I like this better. Just a personal choice. And then, as I've said in the past, this Joker, I first became aware of him at my friend's house. Again, check out Ray Ray's collection and subscribe. And I just loved the look of him, and I had no idea that Todd McFarlane had made this figure. And about 3 months after I initially saw the Hot Toys version, I saw him, so I had to get him. So what we'll do is pose them out and show you how articulate they are. So all I've done is I swapped them around a little bit on the platform. I put Scarecrow at the front, I've widened his stance, and if you look down there, you see there's a bit of movement there around the ankle and toe. And I quite like the way this guy looks. And I was watching on YouTube at my mate's house. You see a storyline which you can see at the beginning of the Arkham game, and some guy has sort of put these stories together, so you don't have to play the game. You can actually see little stories within the game itself. And that's Joker there. He's extended his gun arm, kept his hand on his chin, because I quite like the way that looks. And he's very articulate, but I've not changed him out that much. And Mr. Freeze, I've rotated his body from the waist, aimed his gun a little bit higher, and turned his head within that domed helmet. But what you'll see in a few minutes is the helmet off. And I'm going to try and get him on the old one knee pose. So let's give that a go. So this is just a quick one. I've moved Joker to the front. Not bad that. Dropped his gun arm closer to his chest. And it's not a bad one. I don't often pose him on one knee anyway. And then Mr. Freeze, he's quite easy to get into this position. And do like the way he looks anyway. I'll come in close. And then I'll come across over to Scarecrow. He was a bit more of a fiddly diddly one. He's got that big coat on, so I'm going to keep the others the same. I'm going to try and improve on his pose, because I like to get things better on camera if they don't seem quite right. Let's move across and have a go at changing out the Scarecrow. So I've changed out slightly the dynamic of the Joker there. As you can see, the gun is at a different position, and that hand there can grip certain weapons, but that is the better hand to use weapons with, and that weapon of course is off from the Todd McFarlane accessory pack. And then Mr. Freeze, Otto Freeze. I've lowered his freeze gun a little bit, so you can see a bit more of his upper torso and his domed head. not too bad. But I paused it to try and work on the dynamic of this figure a bit more. He's square on, but because of the nature of that coat, it's a bit difficult to get that pose. But what we'll do, we'll get them back on their feet and talk a little bit more about them, and I'll bring it back to take it on to the next stage and see what we can come up with. So again, I'll swap the figures around on the platform. I'll put Scarecrow center, and not much of a change in his dynamics in the posing phase, but he's a very striking looking figure, I think, and that would be where he fires off his toxin gases, as you can see there. And in the past, in that hand, I have put a weapon in there, but after a while I just think he's best left alone because he looks fine as he is. And then Joker, I've dropped his stance, widened his feet position. He looks great, he looks murderous and crazy. I'm going to tilt his head down to create the effect of him looking down at his victim on the next shot, but I'll keep the pose the same. And then with Mr. Freeze, again, I've widened his stance, very poseable for a kind of a chunky figure, as I would call him. And I've taken that dome off, and I love that paint application. I love the blue head and the red goggles. There's lots of variants on this particular figure. You can get him where the white bits are in colour, but I do like him looking like this. So I'll probably do a couple more and call it a day. So I was going to tilt his head down, the Joker's, but I thought just to keep that head up, because that's such a nice head sculpt. It really is very well done. I really like that. And then I've turned kind of Scarecrow sideways on so you can see him lifting that leg. And he's got toe articulation, as you can see there. That kind of brace there actually reminds me of the brace on the leg of the Mad Max figure. Well, I don't know if there is a Mad Max figure. I presume there is one, but it kind of reminds me of that from the film. And I wouldn't mind getting a Mad Max figure if he was this well done. But there he is, aiming that toxin weapon on his arm. And then Freeze, I've got him now holding on to the weapon with both hands. Still kept the dome head off. And there was going to be a time where I was going to review him going up against my Hush Batman, which I may well do at some point. But I'll do 2 more poses with all of these guys, and then I'm going to wind it up and call it a day. So I put Mr. Freeze back at the front. I try to create a bit of movement in the legs, and he too has good toe articulation there. And I like to create those sort of dynamics with figures. And all I've done with Joker is kind of put him sideways on, but I'm going to come up with a better one than that. And the Scarecrow, I've widened his stance, and sometimes the foot stands are not required on these figures because they've got quite big feet and good tight joints, so they tend to stand up without any issues. But I will do, I think, 1 more and then I'll call it a day. So that, guys, is the final one for me. Created a bit more movement with Mr. Freeze there, and got him square on, as you can see. And again, I love that face and the red goggles, and it's very simply put together in terms of the paint application. They haven't got lots of colours going on like some of the variants of this. I like it simple, and I like the effect. And Scarecrow, despite having that kind of bulky coat that he has, you can get some nice poses in with him, and if you wanted to put a weapon in that hand, you can do that too. But like I said before, keeping it simple is good enough. And I can hear a dog in the background. First it's police sirens and now a dog. The neighbourhood is really going downhill. But yeah, that's the Scarecrow and I really like him. And then if we come over to the other side, you will see the Joker, and I've got him in a kind of dance emote pose, celebrating the death of yet another victim. So yes, that's okay for me. Those three villains, they kind of have that Arkham Asylum look to them, which is what I wasn't aware of when I first got them until I was over at my mate's house. So I quite like that. And what I'm hoping to do at some point, I was looking at Arkham Batman. There's some good ones out there by Todd McFarlane. But what I've fallen for at the moment is Troika Batman by Todd McFarlane. And like Arkham Batman, he has really long ears, kind of creature-like. So what I might do is pick him up and get him posed out with these three villains. So that's the end of that. I've covered all the bases as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully you've got a few figures like this yourself, what you can do poses with. And before I sound off, I say sorry about that yapping dog outside, and I think my finger crept into the shot, but at the end of the day, it's all a new learning curve, and I really do like that. I like to get a shot of the freeze tanks on the back of that figure, as you can see, and Scarecrow has his own tanks. But yeah, as I say, I've covered all the bases with these villains, and there might be a time when I get them back out and pose them with my Hush Batman, and probably my Damian Wayne, or probably my Tim Drake Robin. But ideally, if I pick up that Troika Batman with the long ears, I'll get him up against these guys in combat poses. So on that note, apologies for the yapping dog and my finger creeping into shot. I'll say thanks for watching the channel, and I'll see you again next time.